Good evening. My name is Trevor Wendt.
And my name is Albert Monahan.
And here are tonight's top stories. After holding office for 12 years, President Franklin Roosevelt died from a cerebral hemorrhage on April 12, 1945. The last of three vice presidents that Roosevelt chose, Harry Truman, was called on to take on the presidency, along with the war that we are currently in. In his earlier years, Truman was a World War I veteran and owned a clothing shop until he was elected to the Senate in 1934. As a former war veteran, Truman understands the importance of his decisions in the war, and especially with the newly developed atomic bomb, and claimed to have felt as though the moon, the stars, and all the planets have fallen upon his shoulders. Truman announced that he will try to continue Roosevelt's traditions along with Roosevelt's New Deal. While speaking to cabinet members, Truman asserted that he was open to their advice but will be making the decisions himself. Truman can be offensive to people blocking his political agenda, but political analysts predict that he will lead the nation well through these times at war. The staff here at CBS wishes President Truman good luck, and we hope that he makes the most out of his presidency. Now to you, Albert.
Thank you, Trevor. Truman hopes to keep up the economy that has been performing very well recently with a $6 billion tax decrease for millions of Americans. Truman also hopes to help Americans through his Fair Deal, which includes many social reforms and legislation including public housing reforms, aid to education, the GI Bill of Rights, which provides educational subsidies to millions of our hardworking and deserving veterans, broader Social Security coverage, and the retention of anti-inflammatory controls to help prevent an economic downturn like we had a few decades ago. President Truman's Taft-Hartley Act got rid of the closed shop worker contracts recently. Though many workers may not be able to join unions before they are employed, they can now join them after and still be legal. It also gave the president power to control strikes harming the public, which is good, so that the economy continues to perform well. That is all for tonight, and let's have a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Ann. Okay, here comes Ann, prettiest girl in school and the liveliest cheerleader of them all. There's a big game today, and no one who'd rather be in Ann's shoes any more than Pat, the kid sister. Well, Pat's day will come. Someday Pat, too, will be one of the prettiest, liveliest girls in school if she builds up strength, builds up energy, builds up strong bones and steady nerves the way Ann does. Ann starts her day with a good, hearty breakfast, including her favorite, Kellogg's Pep, the build-up wheat cereal. And Pat, too, is learning that Kellogg's Pep has more builder-upper vitamins than any other ready-to-eat wheat cereal. And say, with your favorite fruit and sugar and milk, Kellogg's Pep sure is a treat to eat. Yes, these are the finest wheat flakes. Different, deliciously different from those you've had before. And Pep is easy to serve. So really enjoy breakfast and keep going strong and growing strong day after day. Build your better breakfast around the build-up wheat cereal. Kellogg.
Hello, my name is Susie, and we have some more top stories for you. Internationally, our nation and our world faces a very real and very formidable threat: communism. Admiral Harriman, U.S. Ambassador to the Soviet Union, advises the nation to be wary of this Soviet-endorsed system, as he considers it more dangerous than the Nazis. Stalin, leader of the USSR, is continuing to expand his control of the Eastern world into Central Europe with his Red Army. Keeping in mind that communism has poisoned the lives of so many, we must do all that we can to keep the red ideals from poisoning our minds, our homes, and our families. We hope that this new containment policy will be able to do so. Andrew?
As we all know, the world's atomic age began with quite a bang on August 6, 1945, when America unleashed its deadly new weapon on the Japanese city of Hiroshima to end the Second World War. As the world recovered from this deadly conflict and the Soviet-American tensions reached a high point, the role of these weapons in future affairs became evident. President Truman even stated that he wished to keep the USSR and its massive Red Army at bay by threats of atomic weapons. The Soviet premier, Joseph Stalin, always the aggressive type, stated that he does not feel threatened by the few atomic bombs that the United States possesses. Fearful of the new Soviet rivalry and the type of destruction that was inflicted on the Japanese, many Americans have become fearful of atomic and now nuclear weapons. As these fears came to fruition, Bernard Baruch outlined a plan for atomic demobilization that eventually was sponsored by the United Nations. This plan was cleverly and in some ways appropriately titled A Choice Between the Quick and Dead. The plan for the eventual outlawing of atomic weapons is as follows. The United Nations would have inspectors all over the world that would ensure that no nuclear or atomic weapons were being produced. Finally, once this complex system was in place, the United States would destroy its atomic arsenal. Difficulties arose almost immediately with this plan. Most Americans thought this plan was far too complicated to be instituted successfully, and the Soviets also outright refused. They refused to allow investigators from the United Nations into their borders, and they demanded that the United States to destroy its atomic bombs at once. The United States refused, and the entire Baruch plan fell apart. This scenario reveals how deeply the Soviet and American tensions run. It also highlights how important of an issue atomic weapons are going to be in the coming years and decades. With the detonation of Soviet atomic weapons, fears over a destructive atomic war have been compounded as the conflict between capitalism and communism continues. It remains to be seen if the atom bomb will be the winning weapon and we need for the future. Hello. As you may know, the threat of communism and commies is increasing every day. Have you looked under your bed lately? There's a chance that there might be one under there.
I am from Soviet Union.
Here we have your friendly neighborhood schoolgirl, skipping on her way home from a nice wholesome day of learning. She may look innocent, but just look a little closer. Well, isn't that nice? She's waving to all her friends and neighbors. But don't be fooled. It's all just a part of her communist agenda. She enters her seemingly normal bedroom. Looks like the bedroom of a typical teenage girl, doesn't it? Wrong, because right next to her picture of Rock Hudson is a picture of Joseph Stalin. And what's this under her pillow? A diary, perhaps? Wrong again. It's a copy of Karl Marx's Communist Manifesto. So before you assume that someone is not a red, think again.
Because anyone you know could be a jerk.
See? Told you. Now I'm sure you've seen a lot of these types of announcements. But before you touch that dial, take a closer look at where the evils of communism could be hiding.
This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Oh, it's my cute little kitty. You're so... Okay, let's go.